From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, February the 6th, 2019. We open with last night's State of the Union address by U.S. President Donald Trump, who in his remarks strongly condemned anti-Semitism. Referring to threats from Iran, the president said,
"We will not avert our eyes from a regime that chants death to America and threatens genocide against the Jewish people. We must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism or those who spread its venomous creed. With one voice, we must confront this hatred anywhere and everywhere it occurs."
Trump referred also to the deadly Tree of Life shooting in Pittsburgh this past October and introduced special guest SWAT officer Timothy Matson, who was shot several times as he responded to the scene, and Judah Samet, a Holocaust survivor and member of the synagogue, who luckily arrived several minutes late for services on that tragic day, saving his life. The president also saluted another Holocaust survivor who was present last night, Joshua Kaufman, who was liberated at Dachau. Seated right next to Kaufman was Herman Zajcik, a Jewish American Army veteran who was among the U.S. forces who liberated Dachau. Two other World War II veterans, Irving Locker, who is also Jewish, and Joseph Riley, were honored by the president as well. In his remarks last night, the president also said he was proud of his administration recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital and the opening of the U.S. Embassy in the city last year. Well, the results from the Likud party's primaries are in. As expected, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu won the top slot. Speaker of the Knesset Yuli Edelstein is in the number 2 spot now. He was followed by Transportation Minister Israel Katz, Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan, and former Interior Minister Gideon Sa'ar. Also making it into the top 10 on the Likud list, former Jerusalem Mayor Nir Barkat. The U.S. Senate approved legislation which includes a measure against the BDS, Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions campaign. We had reported to you that the bill originally introduced by Republican Florida Senator Marco Rubio had advanced in the Senate last week. Today, it passed a full Senate vote, 77-23. In addition to providing legal protection for states that bar cooperation with companies that boycott Israel, the bill also codifies the $38 billion in defense assistance to Israel, which was signed under President Obama. Pro-Israel lobby AIPAC praised the passage today and also defended the anti-BDS component of the bill that some claim infringes on civil rights. AIPAC said the legislation has no impact on the right of Americans to personally boycott Israel or oppose Israeli policies, noting that the bill's scope is limited to commercial activities between companies and state and local governments. The bill now goes to the House. Renowned rabbi, philanthropist, and activist Yechiel Eckstein has died. Eckstein was president and founder of the IFCJ, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, which since its founding in 1983 has raised over $1 billion to help Israel and the Jewish people, including providing heaters and heating grants to poor elderly in Israel and countries in the former Soviet Union, sponsoring activities for children of southern Israel when they were under rocket fire, and donating life-saving equipment for hospitals across Israel. Eckstein was also a guest on JBS.
Shalom is going to come when each of us, whether they're a federation leader, an AIPAC leader, a Jewish, is going to do some chesed, acts of kindness, chesed, to help others. And that will break down the barriers.
And JBS President Mark Golub said of him, Yechiel Eckstein made an invaluable contribution to Jewish-Christian relations and to the well-being of the State of Israel. He was a very lovely man, and he will be profoundly missed. Eckstein died earlier today from sudden heart failure. He was 67 years old. The Departments of Defense of the United States and of Israel confirmed a report from last month that the U.S. Army is set to buy Iron Dome missile defense systems from Israel. The Times of Israel cited CNN quoting U.S. Army spokesman Patrick Sieber, who said the Iron Dome will be assessed and experimented as a system that is currently available to protect deployed U.S. military service members against a wide variety of indirect fire threats and aerial threats. Prime Minister Netanyahu said this is a great achievement for Israel and yet another expression of the strengthening of our powerful alliance with the U.S. and an expression of Israel's rising status in the world. British Jewish historian Simon Schama was knighted at Buckingham Palace today for his services to history. The 73-year-old wrote and narrated a 5-part television series on the history of the Jews and published a 2-volume history of the Jewish people, among other writings. Schama, who was born in London, lives in New York, where he teaches history and art history at Columbia. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, February the 6th. At 7 o'clock, it's From the Aleph Bet. At 8, it's an all-encompassing survey of Jewish history by the president and CEO of the Center for Jewish History, David Myers. At 9 tonight, Mark Golub sits down with actor Alan Lewis Rickman, who discusses his love of Yiddish and his production, Tevye Served Raw, which he wrote, directed, and plays the title role. At 10, it's highlights from Kulturfest. And coming up right after this newscast tonight, Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, February the 6th, 2019. I'm Teisha Bader.